works. Great. Well, first of all, thank you all. Thank you all for being here with us on a Friday afternoon. I know you're all dying to get your drinks, but that's why I would like everybody to actually do a big round of applause for yourself for being with us together all until the end of this great European Blockchain Convention. So great, thanks a lot for the European Blockchain Convention, of course, for inviting us, for organizing these amazing 3 days of debates. We're good, everybody has a mic, yes, great, well then we can get started. So, my name is Tommaso Astazi, I'm the Head of Regulatory Affairs at Blockchain for Europe, a Brussels-based trade association representing the blockchain sector. I'm really happy to be here today to talk about different blockchain initiatives. We're going to have a nice little tour around the whole European Union to talk about different initiatives, and I'm very happy to do that today together with these 3 experts. And here we have JJ from the Alastria blockchain ecosystem. We have Nena Dokuzov from the Slovenian government. And we have Joao Rodrigues Frade from the European Commission. So a big round of applause for our speakers. Thank you. And then let's get started. As we said, we wanted to have a bit of a round, right? A bit of a tour around Europe, and where else should we start if not from Brussels? I mean, I might be biased there, sorry, but everything actually does start in Brussels when we talk about the European Union. So let's start in Brussels, let's talk with the European Commission, and let's ask Joao then, what is happening in Brussels? We know that you've been working at the European Commission since 2014 on a lot of different interesting initiatives aimed at the digitalization of services and infrastructure. So can you tell us a bit more about, for example, the European blockchain service infrastructure?
So thank you very much to the organization to have us again in the, in this amazing event, really, in the Blockchain Convention. It's the first time in person. We have already been present several times, but it was always remote. So it's really great to be here and meet all of you. My name is Rodrigues Frade. I come from the European Commission, but I don't really do the regulation side. So don't look at me for MiCA or any of the other regulations. I'm on the side of the implementation of information systems. One main project that we are involved in is the so-called European Blockchain Services Infrastructure, or EBSI, or EPSI. Some of you might have heard, and indeed the European Union is deploying its own blockchain. So we are talking about a totally separate blockchain that is run by the member states. And that blockchain will be used for something that we are discussing now as decentralized government, or DGov. It is a public permissioned blockchain, which means that everyone can read from that blockchain, but only permissioned entities can write on the blockchain. We are basing the blockchain on common open source protocols, so you will be able to have access to the nodes. The nodes are run, as I said, by the member states. The European Commission supports the deployment of those nodes. We don't really run a node. Nena is here from the European Blockchain Partnership that is responsible for the governance of this blockchain. It includes all EU member states, as well as Liechtenstein and Norway. And this is, I think, a very interesting way also of presenting Web3, because we were looking at Web3 only from the DeFi perspective, meaning cryptocurrency or crypto projects. But government is also part of this movement of Web3, of the decentralized web. As I said, we are using EBSI for fundamentally provide public services which are based in the same principles as decentralized finance. So it's to use that same way of thinking, but for public services. And EBSI is one of those projects. And of course, what we want to avoid is the fragmentation across initiatives of the member states, and to find synergies, because we want to build a very large ecosystem where the private sector can also be a part of. So you are all invited to participate.
Great, very interesting, and it's great to hear that the European Commission, as we also heard this morning in the very first panel debate, there is people in the European Commission that are actually looking at this technology for its potential rather than just for the risks. So that is great, but I'm sure that as we talked about last week, when preparing this panel debate, you told us that it's also quite challenging talking with your colleagues in the European Commission and showing them why are we even doing this? What are the benefits of these technologies and why should they care about it? Can you tell us a bit about those challenges?
Yes, indeed. I mean, this transition from the Web 2 with over-reliance on platforms, everyone was absolutely, let's say, and fundamentally trusting those platforms not so long ago. Today, it's not the case. So that opens a space for this idea of let's look at Web3, let's look at DeFi, let's apply it to other public services. So for example, we are working with many policy DGs because you might not know, but when a EU regulation or a EU directive comes out, it usually foresees exchange of information between the member states or a totally new information system. So there we are helping the policy DGs to actually use this technology for their own purposes. I'll give you an example, because examples are very important here. The case of a diploma. As you might not know, or might know, a diploma in PDF actually is quite easy to fake, right? So the idea today is, where do you go? You go to social media, you go to LinkedIn, you go to the usual platforms, or you call whoever has issued that diploma and you try to see whether or not that specific document is authentic. With decentralized government, what we are trying to do in EBSI is actually to make that information verifiable. So to turn things around, today information is very difficult to verify, but very easy to fake. If we turn that diploma into a verifiable credential, if we put that verifiable credential on a wallet, and the wallet will not come from EBSI, it comes from public and private initiatives, it can then be shown to any verifier that can also look information into the blockchain. The blockchain does not contain any personal data whatsoever. That's all on the wallet. But the blockchain helps because it contains a commons of data that everyone can trust, which in this case is actually the information about the issuers, the universities that can issue that type of information and the accreditation that they have to do it. So we bring these kind of examples using verifiable credentials for verification of information, or track and trace. There we are working with the UIPO, the European IP Office, to show that these are innovative technologies, but they are not experimental. We can actually use them in the real world, in the real life, and can improve the life of citizens, because this verifiability is privacy preserving. As I said, there is nothing on the blockchain regarding, personal data. So it means that it's a win-win. It's win for governments. They have a much more decentralized, let's say, system operating. At the same time, for the private sector, for example, the wallets come from the private sector. You can make your wallet compliant or conformant to EBSI. And finally, for the citizens, because it's privacy preserving. So this win-win-win is what we are trying to explain to all the policy DGs, so that in the future we can have more examples, such as the one that I just explained.
Great. That was a great answer, great example of how this can be a challenging effort, but of course one that someone needs to do. So thanks a lot also for that work. And then let's move on then. As you also mentioned, the European blockchain partnerships, and we have here Nena, who's the Slovenian representative for the European blockchain partnerships. So great to have you here. Would you like to tell us a bit more about that, these European initiatives, and then maybe also what is happening in Slovenia that you could want to share with your audience?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the introduction of blockchain partnership. Actually, this was the first win for Europe when we established this in 2018. And it was a clear stream that we want to develop either European blockchain services infrastructure and the use cases. This is, how can I say, a unique network of member states and in cooperation with the European Commission. Usually we have on the European Commission some expert working groups that are constant and everything like this. But this specific European blockchain partnership was dedicated really to start to develop a common European infrastructure for blockchain on one hand, and also the primary use cases that would show how that infrastructure functions in the cross-border and interoperable manner. So what was very important was that we decided at the first stage, 2018, to start to develop SSI, self-sovereign identity, which was developed in the further years to the stage that we can now really talk about that interoperable identity, that we can use it on blockchain. There was another case which was mentioned by Joao. It was a diploma use case. It is also in very mature stage of development. And we had a traceability use case, actually notarization, which we will revitalize now from that moment on, because we are going to develop that Trace for EU use case. But I will talk about this a little bit later. So the structure of European Blockchain Partnership was the policy group, where the members of representatives of member states are members. And this is the policy orientation group, which is deciding on the use cases, which is deciding on development of the infrastructure, and how blockchain will be positioned within the European institutions and also on the national levels. So we started to open the EPSI nodes in each member state, and it was quite long time to test the pilot phase of EPSI nodes and EPSI infrastructure. But now, when we have it in production phase, it is even more demanding, okay, because all the times new standards are required, but it's very, very useful thing to start to work on this and use this in a really interoperable manner. This was the first thing. Then the second thing, we established technical group, and now that technical group is taking care of development of the use cases and EPSI infrastructure, and also use case groups that were dedicated to develop certain use cases on blockchain. And this was 2-3 years, I think. After that, also DG Digit contributed a lot of knowledge and human resources for development of EPSI for further development. And now we are at the stage when we are going to further upgrade SSI through social security pass use case, through diploma use case. But I'm very proud of one project that we win on the call, Digital Europe program call. It is called Trace for EU. It will be dedicated for creation of the umbrella traceability. First, the traceability of the data and the documents, and on the other hand, the traceability of products and materials. So I would, when it comes to the point that it will be mature and the common architecture will be established, I would like to invite you, all of you, to participate and to develop your use cases also from the private part. Here, from the European part, I would like to mention some more things. We are in the very historic moment at this moment, creating the first European, I call it, institution for blockchain. It will be EDIC for EBP and EPSI. This is European the Digital Infrastructure Consortium for European Blockchain Partnership and EPSI. And it will function like a governance structure, governance system for every part of the that blockchain ecosystem, either for the infrastructure, for use cases, but also very close connections with the ecosystem in Europe. You know, we have very strong ecosystem in Europe. I will mention here European Blockchain Observatory and Forum. It was established even before European Blockchain Partnership. It is very strong network of researchers, of companies that have a lot of track record and knowledge on specific areas. Then Commission initiated also the establishment of INADBA. This is International Industrial Organization, and we have also very close cooperation. I have to mention, for example, Blockchain for Europe is also one of the partners, and European Blockchain Convention is as well very welcome here, because you have a lot of knowledge and a lot of good track record here within this ecosystem. This would be for the European side. Maybe later about Slovenia, or no? No?
As you want. If you have a couple of examples that you want to give quickly to the audience about the Slovenian initiatives, I think everybody will be interested.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. I'm also proud for Slovenian initiatives, you know, because we were one of the initiator of this European Blockchain Partnership. Communicating the declaration that was adopted 2017 in Slovenia for blockchain. After that, we were one of the first countries that adopted a strategic document on blockchain. It was called our action plan or strategy. And we were also the first country launching a national blockchain infrastructure. And what is good, that infrastructure called C-Chain was also tested and was listed among the 3 ones that were tested within the EPSI, because it was at one moment of time, it was a case to onboard the different national infrastructures. Probably we will hear about Alastria later on, but now we didn't leave the idea behind, okay? And this is still the case, that after certain steps of the development of EPSI, that integration for scaling up of EPSI will also be the case. Also to mention, maybe because we heard a lot about metaverse and NFT and everything like this, we were also the first country launching NFT. NFT for like digital memorables for Expo. And we showcased 5 industrial design projects for the industry, and we showcased 5 tourist destinations on NFT, showcasing how the people can use that NFT for coming to Slovenia and see how this can be marketed. The last thing, okay, we established last year we had one huge conference on the metaverse and the Web3. So we established a World Metaverse Council. I also invite you all to connect with me on LinkedIn or anywhere else. And to join World Metaverse Council. It is becoming a very strong organization, having the work streams like regulatory, like sustainability, standardization, and everything like this. So we will somehow come close to all the topics that were discussed in this conference, and I hope that we can develop this also together.
Great. Thank you so much, and I think just the enthusiasm that you're using when talking about this project shows how proud you are. And I think I hope that you didn't get scared with all the abbreviations that we might have used on this stage. Of course, there is a lot of different projects, but as you can see, that's the beauty of it, right? There is a lot of different initiatives happening in Brussels at EU level, and also in Slovenia, for example. And now we actually wanted to end our Leader European tour coming to Spain, in the beautiful country that hosted us in these past few days. And I'm very happy to talk now with JJ. And please, if you want to introduce yourself, introduce the Alastria blockchain ecosystem, and tell us a bit more about what is happening in this country.
Thank you, Tommaso, and thank you, the European Blockchain Convention organization, for having us. It's a great pleasure to be here. Yeah, we started with Alastria, which is a different concept, but chases kind of the same principles. We started in 2017. It grew a lot. It's already now 600 members, all private, and we got to this plateau of stability in blockchain and the blockchain implementation in the country, all through contributions. We are a non-for-profit association. What we provide is first infrastructure for the entrepreneurs, for the shapers, for the builders, but also for the big corporates to deploy different use cases in our networks. Networks are best effort networks provided by our different partners. And we work with different technologies. We are agnostic, and we have one network called T for Telsius, built on Quorum, other one built on Besu for different use cases. And as I mentioned, is fully private. What we've been doing in this, what we call Alastria 3.0, I've been appointed to run the organization for a couple of years. And the obsession has been also to gather and to convince the government to join. It's been totally private, built on contributions. And now we got lucky because we're more and more signing arrangements and agreements with the different regions in Spain to provide what we call ISBE, which is the Infraestructura de Servicios Blockchain de España, which is quite inspired in EBSI. Yeah, it's kind of an acronym, is what we do. Because, yeah, at the European Union level, we're 27 member states, but when you look through Spyglass, in every single country, you have these nuances, the details, the different jurisdictions. And of course, Spain is quite a decentralized country. We behave a bit as a federation of different regions. So there you need also blockchain to implement. We're going to implement one single node per region, is 17 regions. So, and we'll be deploying it. It took a while to convince, but for sure it's going to be fruitful and successful. We got profit of the next generation EU funds, and we will be implementing this network in a higher standard, able to sign contracts, able to provide a service level agreement to every single player out there in the ecosystem that wants to play with blockchain, that has a blockchain strategy. And even if they don't have, we're also providing a strategy and guidance to the companies that want to gather with us and want to play the network effect. As I mentioned, it's more than 600 members already. And hopefully we'll have this network in a year time, year and a half, something like that, providing the best standards in the market. Of course, federating networks, public permission with other protocols that are out there, the so-called layer 2. We're working with the Polygons, with the Avalanche, with the Polkadots of this world, trying to connect and federate something that is usable, that is interoperable, and that is multi-sectoral, which is the most important part.
That is a very interesting also overview of what is happening in the Spanish ecosystem and with the Alastria blockchain ecosystem in the lead of that. And I think one thing that you mentioned in our conversations, but also just now, the role of private-public partnerships. What do you think of that? Do you think that is the key for the future development of what we are all talking about here?
Can be pure public use cases. I think these ones can be deployed, and for sure, when we speak with the government, with the central government, but also with the different layers of government we have, they're all pursuing different administrative and bureaucratic processes that they know by heart that blockchain could play an interesting part, but they're not really that expert to figure it out, so we're helping them. So this is the pure public. Of course, the pure private, the large companies, they already know, they've been, fiddling and testing different technologies. Now it's not about testing, it's about implementing. That is for sure. We know, we heard it before here in this Congress. And but the sweet spot is the combination of public and private, in order to pay taxes more efficiently, in order to cross different processes that are super important for a country and for the whole European region. So I think this is the sweet spot. Is the way is the place where we're performing. It's not an easy one, but nothing is easy. But bringing together the private and the public, and also liaising with other networks that are out there, for example, the LAC chain or LACnet protocol that is a neutral operator that is there in Latin America, and the way we can bridge European businesses to Latin America is super cool. And this is the way we understand the challenge, and this is the way we are going to provide value to our partners and to our members.
That is great, thanks a lot. And I think as we are moving closer to the end of this panel debate and then also of this beautiful 3 days of convention, I want to start again with you, JJ, because we also discussed this report that you worked on with the vision for a tokenized Europe. And I think if we're all here, everybody who's here probably has or shares parts of that visions. But after 3 days of discussions and debates and conferences, how do you see the clear steps that we need to take to reach that vision? What is the message that these people should all bring back home?
As you know, one of the main use cases or one of the main streams in working with blockchain is tokenization. For sure, it's not the only one, because it appears to be the only one for some people, but it's not. But for sure, I encourage the audience here to download the Tokenized Europe 2025, which is a report that we collaborated with other firms. Santander is there, other banks, other European banks, as Commerzbank. And the important side is also the corporate side and the factories and the industries and the non-financial players that are gelling for having this tokenization phenomenon, which is a lever of growth in this very uncertain moment of time and history we're living. And the main finding of the report is that tokenization is going to add a lot in terms of GDP for Europe from now to 2025. What we need standards, we need interoperability, we need to stitch the fragmentation that we have in Europe. There are front runners, there's people that run maybe faster, but we have to, no one can be left apart or behind. And it's going to be for sure an important lever of growth. And we will be encouraging it from Alastria and from the different parts of the ecosystem.
Great, thanks a lot. And maybe then let's ask Nena and Joao, what do you think about this? How do you define the next steps that we need to take in Europe to reach that vision of a tokenized Europe?
Okay, I liked the term that was used, DGov, and I think that with all the things that we are doing now, we are getting very close to that DGov. First, I think that we need to think about 3 pillars. Okay, one is a regulatory pillar. We were talking a lot about MiCA, about the other Data Act, maybe Data Governance Act. EIDAS is under preparation, and there will be a lot of discussion on this even in the further years. On the other hand, here we have a very strong pillar on the technology development and use case development. And the third pillar is ecosystem. So we all need to take into account, to put all this together, and I hope that EPSI will manage to present the ecosystem, to present the tool for integration of other protocols, and also the tool for testing and application of the use cases on blockchain. So this would be for the future.
I think we said it all, so exactly that. That's what we will continue to do, an open, decentralized ecosystem that you can also join. So do have a look. We keep in contact. Don't hesitate to reach out. And it was really a pleasure to be here today and to see so many of you and the young generation as well involved and wanting to contribute. It's really encouraging. It energizes us, and we keep in touch.
That is a great message to leave, I think, our audience with. So thanks again. A big round of applause, please, for our speakers.